Hey everyone, it's Lana here from PICHA's marketing department, and in today's episode, we're going to be chatting a bit about branding for photographers specifically. What is it, why you need it, and how to do it in an authentic way that resonates with the client you're trying to connect with.
Okay, so let's get started with branding for photographers. The first thing I wanted to chat a bit about is why it's important to know your brand and go through all the trouble of creating your brand guide and carrying that through to the various touch points. It's because a clearly defined brand is needed for consistency, and it's this consistency that helps to create the perception of professionalism. And professionalism is needed for trust, which is a key factor in whether somebody will actually hire you or put you forward to hire you with their company for a job that they might be needing a photographer for. So without a consistent brand, you may lack the cohesiveness in your online presence that is needed for a professional image. Okay, so there's four things that I wanted to chat about before we jump into the specifics of creating a brand guide. And firstly, the brand guide will be used to create a cohesive brand across various touch points. So when you map out your customer journey, you need to consider all the touch points, and a touch point is anywhere where a customer will come in contact with your brand. So there are online and offline touch points, and examples of some offline touch points would be a print ad that you maybe took out in the local school newsletter, or perhaps you're a wedding photographer and you left some flyers with the bridal boutique in your neighborhood, or the client welcome pack that you create when a new client signs up with you with your photographic business. Online touch points are things like your website, email newsletters that you send out to your email list, social media accounts, and if you're a stock photographer, your contributor profile as well would count as a touch point. I've said be yourself, let your personality shine, even if it's weird. And this is a really important point because people connect with other people. And I think I've mentioned this in a few other PICHA U videos as well. There's so much content out there that people are faced with daily. So it's really important that you cut through the noise and that you're authentic and relatable so that people can actually form a connection with you and essentially with your brand, because with the photographic business, your brand is a personal one. And it's that connection with your personality and your quirky traits that will make you stick in people's minds. And when they do need to hire you, or when a friend maybe is in need of your photographic services, they would be advocates for your brand or actually go through with the process and hire you themselves. Once you've created your brand guide, you would use it whenever you're designing assets for your brand. You would consult your brand guide. And an asset can be anything from revamping your website to designing the layout for a new flyer or print advert that you're taking out, or the welcome pack that we spoke about earlier, or an email signature. These are all different kinds of assets for your business. Banners, physical pull-up banners. The brand guide will help you ensure that your branding is consistent throughout everything you design. Not identical, of course, but that the brand drips through each design. Each design can be fresh and new and different, but the branding is consistent, and that will give you a cohesive presence. It's also a really useful document when you onboard new team members. So while you may be a one-man show at the moment, chances are in the future you may want to work with a social media manager or a graphic designer. And it's a really great document to hand to them because it helps them to capture the essence of your brand and whatever the services are that you've hired them for, and helps them to hit the ground running, to familiarize themselves with your voice, your personality, and without that having to be a lengthy, drawn out process, they can create things for you right from the get go that's on brand. And then, of course, when you're creating content, this can be any kind of content, social media content, blog posts. If you've got like a podcast or anything like that, it's important to know what your brand voice is and just get clear about that before you begin any content creation process. So, what goes into a basic brand guide? So of course you will have the title page and table of contents right up front in the PDF document. And I do suggest that you include the version and the date that you're creating the brand guide on your title page. And that's because this guide will change and it will develop over time, just because your brand will evolve as time goes by. And it's just really nice to have a reference, to know exactly what version you're on, and just kind of have that record of what previous brand guides looked like before. So there's two parts in the brand guideline. There's the branding elements and then there's the corporate identity. So with the branding elements, we're looking at short paragraphs just about what your photographic business is about, what you offer. So a quick little about section, followed by one paragraph about your vision as a company and your mission. So the difference between a vision and a mission is your vision is where you see yourself in the future, where you hope to be, and your mission is kind of your objectives along the way and how you plan on accomplishing that vision. Then it's important to talk about your why. Why are you in photography? And if it's to pay the bills, then you need to dig a little bit deeper. Of course, every business needs to make money, but that's not why you're in business. And if it is, then you should probably think about changing careers. Because when people buy from you in any business, not just in photography, they're not really buying your products and services. Most of the time, they're buying you and your why and your passion and your drive. So figure out what it is about the services that you're offering that makes you want to do it, that makes you want to get out of bed every morning. Are you trying to make a difference? What is the difference you're working towards? So explore that a little bit, because that will be an essential part in your storytelling with your business, and also in capturing your brand's essence. So the next point is a few core values. So I would say start with about 5. And because a photographic brand is actually a very personal brand, the core values for your business will probably be very similar to your own personal values. Then next, you need to define your brand personality and voice. And there's a few helpful questions here that will help you develop that or write about that in a paragraph, because it can be quite hard to describe our own personalities. So for example, the helpful questions that I recommend is 5 words that describe the spirit of your brand. Is it energetic? Is it serene? Is it bold? Is it out there? Is it cheeky? So those are kinds of just examples of what those words could be. And then 5 words that describe the aesthetic of your brand. So that will be particularly useful when it comes to putting together your brand aesthetic mood board, which is last in the brand guidelines. And that'll just help you also during the whole design process. So for example, words could be vibrant, calm, bold. So like these are examples of words that would describe the aesthetic that you're trying to create with your brand: modern, minimalist, retro. And then lastly, if your brand was a celebrity, who would it be? And I really like this question, especially when you're onboarding new team members, because when somebody is new to the team, they're not necessarily very familiar with you and your personality and voice, which is essentially your brand personality and voice. But when you liken it to a celebrity, it helps them to get on the same page very quickly. So that's quite useful. So next you'll chat a bit about your target audience and try to go deeper than just the age, the sex, and the demographics. Try to look into things like, what are they struggling with? What do they care about? What keeps them up at night? Really look at their personality types. What are they doing with their days? Are they moms? Are they young professionals? So look at who they are as real people, more than just the usual demographics and a few numbers on a page. And then lastly is the brand aesthetic mood board. So I like to use, when putting the mood board together, I usually use Canva, and I like to use textures, patterns. If you have images that you've taken that already represents the mood you're trying to create for your brand, then use them. Otherwise, use stock images that reflect the type of aesthetic and mood that you're going for. And I also find that it helps to add a few words in there as well, particularly hashtags. So for example, on PICHA's brand mood board, we have the hashtag representation matters because it is very much part of the essence of our brand. So the next part in your brand guideline is going to be corporate identity. And these are going to be the technical specs. So your logo specifics, how much clear space is needed around the logos and just in design in general, logo variations, background options, color palettes, and remember to include the hex codes for the color palette that you decide to run with, font specifications for headings, accent fonts, subheadings, and body text. And then best logo practices, you can also include that there as well. Yeah, and that's it. So I hope you found some useful tips that you can use in your business, and good luck creating your brand guideline.